One reason. Give me one reason why Miami should be in the college football playoff over BYU. Please. One reason. Give me one reason why Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss should be ranked above BYU, and why the degree of separation should be so dramatic between those schools and Colorado. Why Ole Miss, I'm reading the AP poll right now, which I hope to God does not mimic the college football playoff poll this week. Tell me why Arizona State at 10-2 is behind Alabama, and why Kansas State is behind Ole Miss. But I want to table those and go to 10-2 BYU. Here's the first point that I'll make. Kansas State, Iowa State. I will yell into this microphone next Monday for whoever loses that game. They've won 10 games, and the committee told us the loser of a conference championship game will not be harmed, will not be hampered by the loss in the conference championship game. Otherwise, why would you play it, really, you know? So I understand that the rhetoric the committee has given about conference championship losers not being hurt is a lie. They're going to look at the loser of the Big 12 championship and say, oh, that's another loss. Thanks for playing. I'd almost rather, I'm getting fired up. I would rather be BYU at 10-2 than BYU in Arlington, who loses and goes 10-3. Weird thing to hear. And BYU fans like, no, we want a chance to at least play for it. But from a college football playoff standpoint, I would rather be out of the conference title than in it and lose. What I don't understand, what you're going to have to help me understand, BYU went on the road and beat the number one team in the ACC, a deservedly consensus top 10 SMU team. That's a nice thing that I said about SMU there, isn't it? Clip it. That doesn't happen very often. BYU beat that school. Colorado has multiple Heisman contenders on roster. It's tougher to make a case for Colorado at 9-3, but I don't understand why they're behind UNLV. I don't understand why they're behind Clemson at this point. And for BYU, their losses are to 5-7 Kansas. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I've told you in weeks past, I watch ball. I have understood now. The committee, the AP poll voters don't really watch ball. They see 5-7 Kansas and go, oh, Kansas is terrible at football. Weren't they like 1-11 last year? And 5-7 Kansas is missing a bowl game. They sucked. These are like, that is the national narrative for a Kansas. That's how the college football playoff committee looks at that loss to beat for BYU, which is absurd. So yeah, I'll give you one bad loss, 5-7, a team that's not making a bowl game. Then I go to Alabama, who lost to Vanderbilt, right? Then I go to Ohio State, who lost to Michigan. Yeah. I go to Tennessee, who lost to 6-6 porous Arkansas. I go to South Carolina, who struggled through the large part of the early season in their schedule. I go to Miami again. I pose you Miami. Miami has lost. So they're 10-2. It features a loss to 7-5 Georgia Tech and Syracuse. 9-3 Syracuse, but no less a 21-point lead that was forfeited against Syracuse. BYU's loss was to Kansas. There's your bad loss. Their other loss to a top 12 college football playoff contending Big 12 championship team, Arizona State. And what I will scream to you into this microphone on next Monday, is if Arizona State loses on Saturday, work with me here. This is what you bring to your water cooler when the idiot across the room says the SEC is way better and a 9-3 SEC team should be in over BYU. This is what you say. If the committee keeps its word, if the committee does what it says it's going to do, Arizona State is locked into the college football playoff when, bing, Tuesday night, we flip the card and Arizona State is the number 11 team in the country ahead of Alabama, which should be the case. It should be 9 Indiana, probably 10 Boise State. I'll give it to you this week. And 11 Arizona State. And you, the committee, have looked me and America in the eyes and have lied to us and said if you lose a conference title game, it will not hurt you. Then here's my question. If Arizona State is at 11 on Tuesday where they should be. They should be a top 11 school. And remember, there's that whole 5 conference championships thing. So you want to be at 11, not 12. 5 conference champions, I should say. So if they're at 11 and they lose the conference title game, you already told me you can't move them. They're a lock. They're in. They're not hurt. That's why I know the rule is going to change. Because if they do lose, see ya. They'll find any excuse to keep Arizona State out. Then at that point, they're at 10-3. I pose the question again. Okay, fine. They lost an extra game. Why isn't BYU here? Why is BYU 6 spots below Alabama? Bama lost to 6-6 Vanderbilt. BYU lost to 5-7 Kansas. Those are pretty comparable losses. Then BYU lost to Arizona State. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. And then guess what Bama also did? Lost a whole nother football game. They have 3 of them. And you know what I keep hearing from every damn talking head in America? Well, if they played it on paper, if they played tomorrow, Alabama's a 10-point favorite. Well, if they played a neutral side, Alabama and BYU, Alabama wins by 17. Do you watch college football? I need you to know how many of these college football national analysts, ESPN pundits, they keep telling me that a 9-3 Alabama would throttle a BYU. Did you watch what happened in Norman, Oklahoma? Did you? Did you watch what happened against Auburn, who kept getting the ball in the red zone, near the red zone? And granted, Alabama wins that game, but Auburn had every opportunity to do so. If you actually watch football, you would understand these world-beating SEC teams that have Alabama across their chest and an SEC patch aren't as good as you think they are. We're paying people obscene amounts of money to take a microphone. My microphone is $69 nice dollars. I'm recording this show on my laptop in a software called StreamYard. And I hit record and I say funny little words into this microphone and I post it and you people watch it. Here's what I know. My jerry-rigged setup, I still have the wherewithal. I still have my soul. I haven't sold it to the SEC yet. I still have a conscience to tell you that games are not won hypothetically. And that as long as that is how we judge college football, we have ruined the sport. So that fancy podcast host, that fancy ESPN guy, that fancy radio host who's in his $1 million studio, who's hooked up to a nationally syndicated show, who's got 500,000 subscribers, 1 million followers on Twitter, and wants to keep telling you that, well, Alabama, we all know Alabama would beat BYU, so they should be above them. Come on, guys. We all know that South Carolina would beat Arizona State. We all know that Miami would beat Iowa State. We all know that Ole Miss would beat BYU. That person doesn't have the gumption, doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the courage. They want to pander to an audience. They don't have the cojones that warrant that $1 million studio, those 1 million followers. I can sit here, I'm home for Thanksgiving in my childhood bedroom, and can tell you a more honest outlook about college football. All it takes is not selling your soul for the money that you get when you say the SEC deserves 5 teams in. Pitiful. Truly. That's the nature of national media in college football today. Do me a favor. Share that segment with every BYU fan, Arizona State fan, Colorado, Kansas State, with every Big 12 fan, every group of 5, every Power 4, I don't care. This is the sentiment that I think we should all rally behind. There are a whole lot of guys out there with $70 microphones that are spitting out a lot more facts. Coming up, Neil Brown got fired. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. I got a letter in the mail the other day that I have a wedding on July 19th, and I'm not going. Why am I not going? It was kind of I was shocked by the invite. Grateful, sure. But also, I already went to Game Time and bought the cheapest tickets that I've ever found for the Under the Big Sky Festival in Whitefish, Montana. Lowest price guaranteed. It was such an easy buying process. All in pricing. I got the VIP package because Game Time made it so cheap. I even toggled a little feature where it showed me the lowest price and without fees. It included them. It put them in the price. So there's no surprise at the end. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.